everybody. Happy Sunday. Today I have a special guest, Dr. Janet West. Let me introduce you to her. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Elsie.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining me on Sunday morning. I have Janet West is a commander in the Navy Medical Corps. She is an active duty Navy family medicine and flight surgeon who's also been a residency program teaching faculty, and she completed operational deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Horn of Africa. So thank you so much for your services, Janet. And she also served as the senior medical officer for the ships in the Navy's third largest fleet concentration area, and is currently the senior flight surgeon for all East Coast Marine Aviation. Janet, I'm so happy to have you here. What she's going to talk about is something I don't know about. I want to learn more about. And she's talking about leadership and being in the military, but talk about tying in how that involves, us physicians and healthcare professionals, how we can learn from the military. So she's going to talk about what is the difference between mentorship, sponsorship, and allyship, and how does that contribute to decreasing the gender gap in leadership, and why it's important for both men and women leaders to practice these concepts. Thank you, Janet. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Maybe we could start from the defining those things.
Sure. I'm honored to be here. First, before that, though, I need to put out my standard DoD disclaimer. None of the things that I'm going to say are at all reflective of any U.S. government, Department of Defense, or Department of the Navy policy. Okay. And I also want to say that I fully understand that there are many other underrepresented groups in leadership. Speaking today for women, but fully recognize that there are many other groups that need these same supports to realize their full potential. So in terms of distinguishing mentorship from sponsorship, I think of mentorship as a one-on-one person interaction or relationship, typically between a senior person and somebody more junior, within whether it's a department or even outside of a single organization. And the purpose of that is to help develop and grow that more junior person and teach them the skills that they need to continue to move up and be successful. Sponsorship is more external advocacy for that mentee. So for example, when the mentor is sitting in a boardroom or a planning meeting or whatever, that person is actively advocating for and pulling that mentee into groups and networks and projects and things that they may not have been pulled into. Again, to help push them out of their comfort zone, stretch and develop their skills, and develop their leadership.
What about allyship? Is that, did you mention that?
So that I see as a more general concept, where instead of advocating on behalf of a specific individual, you are advocating on behalf of an entire group. So somebody who advocates and supports women physician leaders across the board and is not necessarily in a relationship with one particular individual.
So can you give us some examples of how you've seen this work in the military or in healthcare?
So definitely. At previous duty stations when that I've been assigned to as hospital staff and teaching faculty, the opportunities to be involved in hospital committees and special projects are often discussed just within the board of directors or executive committee, and don't typically involve the more junior folks. But I had senior colleagues in those groups that would volunteer and get me involved in some of those things and help expand my experiences, which was fantastic. Those are opportunities I would not have had if they hadn't done that.
Is that a formal thing within the military in your experience, or are you talking about this more in a general loose term?
This is all very informal. Yeah, I've yet to see a formal mentorship program that actually works and is sustainable. Those things seem to need to be organic in order to be effective and to continue.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about your personal experience maybe with leadership. Is this how you found leadership, through these informal mentorship and sponsorship within the
Absolutely.
military, or was this outside of the military?
It's been both.
Okay.
So both professionally within the organization, I've had folks that have advocated for me to take on more senior leadership roles in clinics and hospitals, in organized medicine. So I'm involved in the American Academy of Family Physicians and its constituent chapters, as well as the American Medical Association. And my time in both of those organizations has been very positively impacted by people I know that are senior to me in the group, bringing me along and, bringing me to dinners with people that I never would have met and facilitate networking, or including me in projects or groups, task forces that I wouldn't have necessarily been considered for. So it's absolutely had a huge impact on my career.
So how are you using that to help other junior folks? Because I know you're in the senior level now within your leadership. How are you being a mentor or a sponsor to someone else?
So I have, I don't even know off the top of my head. I have 6 group surgeons underneath me, and each of those group surgeons has about 8 or 9 squadron flight surgeons across the East Coast. So huge population. So what I'm doing now is working primarily with those group surgeons to help grow and mentor and develop them, increase their leadership skills and that. And then as they express interest, certainly work with the more junior flight surgeons individually. More so it's in a group setting. So having, group meetings with them to discuss different professional development topics, whether it's Navy career stuff or medical stuff specifically.
Okay, so now you mentioned this gender gap and decreasing the gender gap. Before we go into how can somebody do this on their own, how can a physician out there who's a physician leader sponsor or mentor someone else? How can they implement that into their organization? Can you tell us about how, in your mind, this decreases the gender gap in leadership, and why, both men or women or one or the other should practice these concepts?
Well, to start with, we need to define the problem. I know it's a very common topic of discussion across the board, so I'm likely not saying repeating a concept that people haven't heard of, but to put some numbers to it that just are mind-blowing. In 2015, 46% of medical school graduates were women, and it's been, in that range, roughly 50-50 for a good number of years. My class back in 2001 was just about 50-50, and the class behind me we actually had more women than men. If you take academic medicine, then follow those women throughout their career, and you look into the more senior leadership positions, for example, only 22% of them make full professor, as opposed to men. If you look in hospital executive leadership, only 18% of hospital CEOs are women. And the military is not doing much better. In fact, their numbers are quite a bit lower. We start with a smaller population to begin with. So, for example, 18% of commissioned officers across all services are women. And then again, as you move up through the ranks, only 12% of 06s, so captains and colonels, the most senior Non-flag officer, they typically are major commanders, are women, only 12%. And then flag officers, admirals and generals, only 7% of them are women.
And these are all positions?
No, this is across all areas of the military. So staff, line, all of it. So there's a huge gap there. And being in one of those positions now, it's very lonely. So where I currently am, out of all of the principal staff working for a 2-star general officer, I am the only woman sitting around the table.
Can I ask you, how many women, what's the percentage of women in the military compared to men?
So 18% of officers are women, and 16% of the enlisted service members are women. So less than 20%.
Okay. So you're already starting off with an imbalance of how many, the number of women in the military, and then that makes it even more minuscule when you get up to the top.
Right.
Right. Okay. So how do we use these concepts to understanding where we are to kind of bridge that gap and decrease the gap, the gender gap in leadership?
So first we have to recognize that women can't do this alone. It's going to take both genders if we're going to get this disparity reconciled. For a number of different reasons. One, there's fewer of us. There just aren't as many opportunities. Many, by the time we get to these more senior positions, we're exhausted because we've had to work longer and work harder to get where we are, and work longer and harder to stay here and be seen as competent and effective. So we just don't have a whole lot of extra capacity to be able to share that with other folks. Men, on the other hand, because there are so many more of them in these senior leadership positions, and because of how they're seen, are in a much more powerful position to be able to mentor and sponsor more junior women and help them progress up through leadership.
So what you're saying is that just because of the sheer number of men in leadership compared to women, that we need more men to understand the importance of this.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we need their support. As much as we are supporting them, we need their support to help bridge the gap.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This is so amazing. How can somebody who's interested in starting a sponsorship, I mean, how do we even get started? Do we just pick somebody who we see who has potential and then suggest to the, if you're on a leadership board, if we can start a mentorship program or sponsorship program? How would you suggest we go about doing this in our organizations of various sizes?
So the first step is recognizing it's important. And then the next step is being deliberate about it. So most of us, as we go through our careers, will, kind of latch on to and mentor and sponsor people that look like us, are similar to us, and aren't really outside of that circle. We all need to look beyond that and deliberately ask ourselves, how many of all of the people that I'm working with are women? And are there any other qualified women out there that we can bring into this group?
Yeah, that's so good.
And being deliberate about it instead of letting things just progress.
I would take it even a step further and saying, if you're somebody who wants to be in leadership, you yourself need to be deliberate about it and understand that you can't just sit down and bury your head in work and expect someone to notice. You need to step up and ask for help.
And that's exactly what I would encourage women to do. We're socialized to present ourselves and behave differently than men. And it can be really hard to step out of that comfort zone and look for someone that you connect with or is in a position that you're interested in or a field of work that you want to go into and reach out to that person. It can be scary, but it's important, absolutely, for us as women to do our part in stepping out and making those connections.
You said that being in leadership is very lonely where you are right now. Being the only woman often probably in any leadership board or committee. How do you deal with that, and what is your recommendation to those women out there who may be fearful to be the only one in the room?
Well, be afraid, but do it anyway. I think is probably a very important piece of advice. Find those folks outside of your department or organization that you can reach out to whenever you feel like you're struggling. So you have your tribe together, and it doesn't even have to be within the same profession. I have a close friend who's actually a surface warfare officer. She's a ship driver. But when I'm struggling with something, she's one of the people that I call. So you can, by having that network, that can give you some of that bolstering support to help you push through some of those uncomfortable moments.
So I've been in situations like that myself, and I have to say I found a lot of men leaders who were very supportive as well. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have I think it would be ideal to have another woman mentor, but if you don't have one, you can lean on. A lot of men are so supportive of women being in leadership, and I've found that myself, that I found comfort in reaching out to them. And also, I love what Oprah said. She quoted Mary Angelou, who said when she shows up in a room of, often she would show up in a room of white men. She's being the only woman, but also the only African woman in the room. She said, my mindset would be, I love it. I love it. And she would say, the reason why she would love it is because she's thinking about, what Mary Angelou said is that she's not here alone as a woman and an African woman, but she comes as 10,000 women before her who paved the way for her to be where she is today, which I love. I love that concept of, in your mind, you show up not just alone, but you're representing, and you come here because other people have paved the way for you to be there.
Yeah, that is super powerful and absolutely true. Being in the position I'm in, I know that there have been hundreds and thousands of women who have gone before me, paving the way to get to this far. And that's.
Thank you so much. In terms of how, I find people who are in the military, I see people around me, my friends, my bosses who've been in the military thrive because of the leadership program they have that's ongoing, and the culture of expecting people to continuously develop themselves. I think that's something that we need to embrace in our medical education. What do you think about that?
I agree 100%. I think that graduated leadership training based on level of training from medical school, residency, through attending is critical because it's not been a deliberate part of our training programs so far. It's been, very happenstance. If you happen to fall into a place where they have some good leadership training, then you benefit from it, but it's not consistent. So I think that would be extremely important. And the more healthcare itself continues to evolve, the more important it is for physicians to be the ones that are leading those changes.
Absolutely. So, Janet, thank you so much for having this interview with me today. I absolutely love speaking to people like you who are thinking outside the box and thinking how we can improve. Just tell us a little bit about how, if somebody has any questions and they want to reach out to you, how can we find you, Janet?
I'm on Facebook. That's really the only social media platform I have. So
Okay.
That will be the best way to reach out to me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, this is Dr. Elsie Ko, CEO and founder of Lead Physician. If you're a physician leader or healthcare executive who would like to help with us developing our physicians to improve healthcare and to improve the lives of physicians and decrease the burnout, please reach out to me at info@drelsieco.com. Please join us every Sunday, and please like this video and subscribe if you want to continue listening to these videos on an ongoing basis. Thank you so much, and everyone have a happy Sunday.
Thank you, Elsie.